Get over there.
Chilling.
Got any last words?
Left side, please. All right, cool. We are talking about a handgun threat from the front. But normally when you talk about handgun threats from the front, the guy's just standing there, you know, give me your money and stuff like that. Well, in this case, he's doing something a little more realistic. He's giving you some distractions or pushes and shoving the weapon. You know, he can actually be even using the weapon to shove, okay? Now, when someone is using the weapon, they can be turning the weapon outward, they can be turning the weapon inward. The first time he was turning the weapon inward. So let's talk about that for a second. So before we even get to talking about the redirect, control, attack, takeaway, RCAT is what we use as Krav Maga when we defending against a handgun, I want to talk about the push for a second. So anytime someone is pushing, right, what they're trying to do is move you to another location, okay? So I want to try to avoid being pushed. Now, if I can get my timing right and right before he touches and I can redirect, that way he's kind of falling into his push. So the redirection I'm using is kind of like that outside defense. If those of you watch a previous video, we talked about the outside defense. I'll put a link down below so you can go and watch that. That defense is an outside defense. In this case, he tried to push, and I did that same outside defense. Notice how he's kind of falling forward when they do that. So because he's falling forward, gives me a good opportunity to get my hand on the weapon. I go for my redirection and my control, in this case, almost simultaneously. Let's talk about the redirection. If the gun was out, then I want to redirect. I want to get myself out of the line of fire as fast as possible. In this case, I'm using my left hand. Now, I've seen a lot of guys do experiments, talk about the handgun defense doesn't work, and they have one guy with the gun and he's trying to, like, he says go and he guys pull the trigger. Well, look, you're gonna lose that every time. You're not racing against the trigger pull. If it's me trying to move and him trying to pull the trigger, I'm going to lose every time. My goal is to get out of the line of fire before he knows that I'm trying to get out of the line of fire. I have to redirect before he even thinks about pulling the trigger, okay? A good time to do that is when he's talking. He's shoving, he's talking. He doesn't think about, he's not about to shoot right now. So, but anyway, the gun is up, and I want to redirect. My hand moves up to the weapon, right in the web of my hand, and I get out of the line of fire. I'm also using a body defense to get out of the line of fire as well. He can push. So I do all of this simultaneously. I redirect and I go for control. Control meaning that I have my top two knuckles going right to his hip, like go to gun please, and I'm holding the gun on his body. All of my weight is on the gun. So even if he backs up, I kind of go forward with him. From there, I start doing my combatives. I can do my short right hand, I can do my elbow, but I want to get control of the weapon and then attack and then take away. So I go for my takeaway. Let me borrow this. So I have the weapon in my hand like so. This hand is going to go under and grab the back of the weapon. If I have the weapon, I have what's called 2-on-1 control. Take the weapon back, and then really try to take the weapon, but really take it. So I have pretty good control over this weapon, okay? From here, I can soften them up some more if I need to with combatives, or I can go for the takeaway. So my takeaway, what I want to do is turn the weapon so it's up. It makes it, you see how I can cord his wrist, made it very hard for him to hold the weapon, and then I'm doing my takeaway here. Okay? Now I have the weapon. If he didn't let the weapon go, I'm not going to move my feet. If I had moved my feet, then I'm putting myself right back in the line of fire. So I'm not going to let the weapon go until he lets the weapon go. Once I take the weapon, I can use it as a blunt object. I can use my combatives, trying to take them out and do whatever I have to do to go home safe. Now that's talking about going in one direction. Let's talk about if he was pushing still, but turn the weapon the other way. Well, it wouldn't make any sense for me to bring the weapon back this way or like so, because now I'm putting myself back in the line of fire, okay? So I'm going to push the weapon out that way, okay? Now, once I push the weapon out that way, I need to get two-hand control again. But this time, I'm not gonna grab the gun, I'm grabbing his wrists. Now you can try to put the weapon back on me. All right, it's very hard for him to do that. But I gotta move fast. Notice how the other hand is here. He can start using that to punch me or whatever. So I have to work quickly, okay? What I'm gonna do is that push-pull technique. I'm gonna pull the wrist and I'm gonna push the gun. Sort of like if you're at the gym and you're doing your pec deck. Same thing, I call it a pec deck move. Boom. Now once here, I take the weapon and now I can get into the fight and start doing other combatives as well, okay? So again, if he's pushing and the weapon's going out, I redirect out and I do my takeaway like so. If he's pushing and the weapon's going in, then I do my regular redirect, control, attack, takeaway. Now another situation I want to talk about, dealing with that push. Remember that when he gave me that good push, I used what we did, the outside defense. But a lot of times you can be hard push. A lot of times when he's pushing, the hands will go up, especially if he's pushing toward the center of my chest and I'm kind of caved in. Well, this puts me in a position where I can't do an outside defense. I have to do an inside defense. A inside defense is when something is coming inside of my guards. So in this case, he's pushing from the inside. Now, what I'm gonna do is still do a redirection, but kind of a scooping redirection, okay? So I go to this side so you can see. Just do the push, please. So when they push, I'm kind of scooping in like so. Now, if he's pushing really hard and putting his weight behind, he kind of falls forward. This gives me a perfect opportunity to, again, go for the weapon depending on which direction the weapon is going, whether it's going to the inside like or the outside like it's going now, or even going to the inside. Either way, that same defense. So now I'm doing sort of an inside, a variation of an inside defense against a push.